Hi, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about finances and our finances in particular. Um, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it because I just I wrote out everything. I wrote out all the numbers, and it's kind of interesting to me. It's kind of interesting because I haven't quite written them out quite like this, the way that I wanted to write them out, so I can show you kind of what's going on. Um, but yeah, I don't know. They're very interesting to me. Um, so I'm gonna get into it with a little bit of a story. Uh, so in November, December timeframe of 2021, we had moved states and bought a little house for the three of us. Um, we when we were planning on moving, we wanted to buy a house because up until that point, me, my husband, and at the time, my 2-year-old daughter, um, well, before her time, me and my husband, we didn't have a structure, a stable foundation to come out of. We were moving every year to every 6 months. Um, and it was exhausting. It was exhausting. It was not what we wanted. We were really wanting to find some form of stability, and that was like the theme for our thought process behind buying a home, is that we wanted some stability in our lives. And now that we had the 2-year-old, we really wanted to form some foundation, some stability for her to be able to grow into the season she was growing into and have a form of freedom, so that we didn't feel burdened and stressed by having to move constantly, by having to worry about whether or not we would have our home, because that's just I feel like a constant stress you have, a constant anxiousness you have when you live in a rented space or in somebody else's space, is that it's temporary. It's very temporary. It's only going to last for so long. So there's that constant thought on your mind of, you know, when is this going to end? When is this going to fall apart for me? When are we going to have to leave again? When are we going to have to pick up and leave? Because we can't stay here forever. There's just no stability. There's no foundation in that. In my opinion, I mean, of course, it has its time and its season, but yeah. So in 2021, along with some friends, we had decided to move states. They, went their own separate ways. They're on their own path, but it was important to us as a family to find stability, to find a foundation, just to be able to start having a sense of peace, and to stop feeling like we're constantly having to pick up and move and pick up all of our things, just this constant instability of having to pick up all of our things and leave. Which we were doing that for me and my husband even before my daughter was born. We were doing that every single year, multiple times a year. We were just moving from place to place for various reasons. And then once my daughter was born, it was something that became really important to us to stop doing that. I mean, for ourselves, yes, but also for her to no longer have to just have that constant pressure of not having a home. So that became extremely important to us in this move. We had accumulated a bit of savings at that time. We had a couple of months that we weren't paying any form of rent or anything because we had moved in and lived with my dad for a couple of months. And so we just accumulated as much as we could. We were paying down debt at that time. We had paid down a lot of debt, and we really wanted to start this journey off debt free, but we did end up within the time frame that we had decided to leave. We weren't able to fully pay down one of the loans, which I'm going to get into. Yeah, and I'm frustrated that we didn't get that done, but it was the way it was. We couldn't get it done. And ever since we had moved, we've accumulated a lot of new debt, and we've accumulated a lot of new expenses that we just weren't really prepared for. We didn't grasp the concept of what that was going to look like. We really didn't have much of a game plan. We just knew that this was what was next for us. So we had just stepped into it, and immediately we stepped into it and started feeling the pressures and the stresses that came along with it. Yeah. And those pressures and stresses and new expenses, they just did not let up. They did not let up. They just kept coming, kept coming, kept coming. And as new homeowners, new to the state, new to just this new season of our lives, we just felt so overwhelmed by just everything that was coming at us at one time. We were so used to living in this place of temporariness where things would change left and right so fast, and we just had to adapt. We just had to adapt. We just had to adapt to whatever was coming. So when we finally came into this place and this mentality that we want this stability, and nothing worked. Everything was a disaster. Everything was a disaster. Our home that we moved into had a ton of just problems with it, from plumbing to just old things that were starting to break down. And then that was one problem. On top of that, we had a ton of the home problems, which we were not used to caring for our own home. We were not used to the expenses it brought. We were not used to budgeting for all those expenses. We were just not used to any of that. So that was all new to us. And so when everything in the house started breaking and falling apart because it was old, it was just so overwhelming, plain and simple. So overwhelming. We became just so stressed and overwhelmed. And my husband, he was really trying to find a job that would work for him, work for our family. And I mean, he's not super happy there. And that's something that we would like to change. I mean, especially now that we've been here for a while, it feels like we're kind of in a place right now where we can start cleaning things up. We can start kind of pursuing things that are important to us, pursuing things that bring us joy. Just start to find the things that we feel led to do. It feels like a transitional season for sure, where we have a lot more peace now. Things have settled down with the house, but in that season, things were going really bad with the house. We had problems with our car that we had to address. We had a ton of new expenses that we were not used to paying. The food prices, I didn't know how to buy food that, was like cheaper, was more affordable, I guess is the proper way to say it. I didn't know how to look after food that was affordable. Like, I had an idea of it, but the confidence wasn't there. So yeah, I don't know exactly what else. Obviously, since then, it's been that was in 2021, the end of 2021, and through 2022, and this last year, We just been accumulating different things. Some of this is our fault. Some of it was in our control, just a small amount of it, but a good chunk of it was in our controls, and it just from bad habits and from feeling that constant stress that we were not used to. We were just not used to. We just made bad decisions. But yeah, some of it we did have to pull out some loans and use our credit card to afford to be able to fix and pay for. And some of this on this credit card is more recent medical expenses that accumulated, but still a chunk of it is just our bad decisions and our stress and constant stress that we felt. Let me show you. Okay. I'm not sure how well you can see that. It looks pretty good. So I wrote everything out on paper, and I'm hoping to find a better system in the future, but this is just the way my brain works. So for starters, this right here, this number here, is the amount that we had left to pay, is the debt that we had left to pay in 2021 when we had moved in, that we were not able to pay off before we came in, which doesn't seem maybe like that much, but we just, if you look here at the current, here, I guess, let me see, can I show you like this? The better, worse, I don't know. Yeah, if you look here at the current year, let me grab this. We were not able to make that big of a dent in this, mainly because we just had so many other things that were pressing, and this just kind of took lower priority. And anytime we did try to start working it down, it just felt like there was so many things that came out at us that did not allow us to put any money towards this. When we had, let me move on to the next one. When we had moved in, we needed a new bed. So at this time, we did have some savings, and we were going to put that saving towards getting a nice new bed for us. But we ended up needing to buy a couch and a washer and dryer for the house, which we didn't think too far ahead. The savings we did have was just not really enough. So we ended up putting this on a payment plan that was 0 interest rate, and just paid it down monthly. I think about $100 a month or whatever. So it took about 2 years to fully pay this off. And we did just pay the monthly payments, and towards the end we did put a little bit of a chunk towards it to finish it off, which was just a couple hundred, so that we didn't have to pay that anymore. But we did pay that off, which was great, but yeah. So moving on, we had to later, probably a year after we moved in, we had already finished, well, probably about a year and a half, 2 years. We had finished paying this one off, so we had to buy a new twin mattress for my daughter. She was about 3, 2 something, maybe 2.5, 3, and she outgrew her crib and her little toddler bed, so we needed to get her a twin mattress. So we went ahead and got her that around her birthday time. But we were also paying that on payments. We set that up in the same way we set this one up. We did go for a little bit of a cheaper brand, but I still wanted to get her a really nice mattress, because she's probably going to be in this mattress, or like using this mattress, for a very long time. So I wanted to make sure to get her something a little bit nicer. She still likes our bed most. She comes and she lays in our bed at every opportunity she gets, but I want to make her bed more comfortable, so I will like to ultimately get her some nicer bedding and a nicer bed frame, because they're just not that comfortable right now. But as you can tell right now, we did pay this off. This one is paid off also. So beyond that, those were obviously previous debt, and then some things that we wanted for the house. So like furniture, when we did buy the washer and dryer, we did pay that out of our savings, and that's why we couldn't afford to really finish paying this off at that time. And that was about $2,500 for the couch and the washer and dryer. But yes, we finished that. But then in 2022, we had a main line plumbing pipe snap. It snapped in half under the house. So we had called in a plumbing company to come and look at it, and ultimately we had to decide how they were going to take care of it and where that money was going to come from. That was, I believe, right around, I want to say $7,000 for that plumbing problem. But at the time when that plumbing company came out, they had so it's a company that takes care of a multitude of things, not just plumbing. They do a ton of stuff. So when they had come out, they had performed some maintenance on our house somewhere else, and so they had let us know that our heater unit was struggling and would probably go out soon, and it was a very old unit, so to repair it, it wasn't worth repairing it. So we ended up getting a new heater and AC, and that's also in this price here. That was for labor, installation, and the product as well. So this is multiple things, which I don't know whether or not we really needed to get that AC or heater, but it seemed like a good idea at the time, because we did not want our heater or AC to go out. Our temperatures here are ridiculously crazy, so we went ahead and did that. But whether or not it was necessary, I don't know. It seemed necessary in particular because we didn't want our heater. We didn't want to lose our heater in the wintertime. And then the AC was kind of an add-on because it was like a bundle deal kind of thing. So that was about around $9,000 and change to get it paid for, get it installed, and then delivered and all that. So yeah, that was the balance that we had started with, and then this is our current balance, is the $13,558, which you can see here. I mean, the dent that has been made here is only about $1,000, if that. Yeah, 7 plus an additional 4 something, so about $1,100 was paid off. But this is just on minimum payments. We haven't put anything extra towards this at all. So the minimum payments have gotten it paid off by around $1,000, which that's good. But ideally, we would like to start tackling it. We just want to tackle the other stuff first before starting this big old chunk, because that's going to take a while. That's the goal. But moving on. So yes, this other one was a plumbing and then heating and AC that we ended up getting a new one. So that was that total. And then more recently, this last year in 2023, we had to pull out another loan because there was some kind of I don't know, I want to say power surge. I don't know what had happened. The neighborhood, my neighbors also experienced it. I don't know whether or not they had to go through the process of buying some new stuff, but we had our electrical panel busted up. It was burned out. We didn't have half of the circuits were not working, so it was like a really kind of funky situation. Our lighting kept flickering on and off, so we called out we called out a different place, a new place to take care of electrical, because the place that installed our plumbing and AC and heater, they do not do electrical work, at least not that kind. I don't know exactly. So we ended up having to pull out another loan so that we can get the electrical panel replaced. It was, this original starting price was at $6,415.66, but we had reached out to our home insurance and they had paid off $4,882.99 of that balance, which we were so glad that they did, because that was just like not our fault. But it's okay. It's okay. Just more things. It's okay. So after the insurance amount that they had given us to put towards it, we knocked that down and it was at $1,550.90, which we had worked on paying that down. So as you can see, this took priority over that because this was on deferment for a really long time. That's also why it's not quite down far enough. It was on deferment for a really long time, and in 2023 it started to the student loan started to accumulate again and was due again. But so we prioritized really putting every dollar, every cent we could towards just knocking this this loan down, because I believe the interest rate on this one was really high. I think it was at 10.99 if you waited longer than 6 months. So it was cheaper for us to spend the time to put all of our money towards it within the first 6 months of the loan starting, because of the interest after that would have been higher. So we paid that off. So currently that one is paid off. And all that's left here is our credit card. So as you can see, when we had originally moved in 2021, or in that season, it was the end, so like in December of 2021. So this is primarily from 2022 to current day. We came in with nothing on the credit card. We had that fully paid down before moving in, but then as you can see, it's accumulated to 10,000 now. Some of this, so for the first couple months that we had moved in, we didn't have a job at all, so we were just using up all of our savings. We got working, started to make some money. That money went towards the priority other things. And we were not really budgeting at that time because we were just feeling really overwhelmed. We were just kind of taking it day by day, still trying to figure it out. But we were using that credit card as a buffer between month to month. We were exclusively using the credit card for all of our bills besides our mortgage, and all of our just groceries and everything. So we were living on the credit card like a month ahead. And that was really scary. That was a really difficult place to be in, and there was a lot of stress for me, feeling extremely overwhelmed by this credit card, because I just did not like. We were spending what we were going to be making the next month on the credit card, and just we kept doing that every month. So we would use what we make to pay off last month's expenses, pretty much. And we were just in a vicious cycle there, trying to keep up with the credit card. And at some point, I believe it was 100% kind of the Lord's wisdom that came in, and He gave me clarity on the fact that we needed to treat this card as a separate loan and just take the hit. So I had moved all of our bills into our checking account and became current with our current bills in the checking account. And we set up a budget, and we figured out how much truly we had to spend on groceries, how much truly we were spending on just all the things that we needed and all of our bills. So I started removing bills that we just didn't need around anymore, and trying to pull out money for the groceries so that we wouldn't overspend, because one of the biggest categories we overspend in is food, but primarily we end up spending way too much money in eating out. So that became a very high priority for me to figure out how much we had to spend in groceries, picking up food that we actually wanted to eat, and just filling our house with homemade food that was just really food we wanted to eat. Because at the end of the day, if we don't like the food that's in our house, we're going to just go out and eat. We're going to go and go spend money on fast food. And it was really interesting to me because we were buying fast food for the convenience of fast food, but it wasn't even convenient at all. We would go in there and we'd wait 20, 30 minutes, which you can make a whole meal in 20 to 30 minutes at home if you had a little bit of prep time, as long as you made sure that you started it before you got hungry, because when you're hungry, everything feels like an emergency. So that became a very high priority for me, was to make food at home. My husband also was on board to make food at home. Unfortunately, we still have a couple of times we go out, but I mean, it is nowhere in comparison to where we were, which is, it's progress. So we do our best to make food at home now. Additionally, beyond that, food was definitely the biggest issue we had. But beyond that, we had incurred some other expenses, different tedious things that broke, from the car to the just minor house issues, and just things like we started spending money on medical expenses. We had a lot of medical expenses come up, and yeah. So for a moment there, we were really just living off of that credit card and really not able to keep up with it to pay it down. And that was a big thing that we were trying to get under control, but that was really difficult, especially as things were breaking, and we just felt this overwhelming amount of stress just overwhelm us. So, yeah. So this is where we've ended up now. After some medical expenses, after some bad decisions, after spending too much on fast food and on just kind of daily life expenses, from clothes to, feeding the animals. We had a cat and we have a dog. We no longer have our cat. And then our dog is not that expensive. not as expensive as the cat was, to be honest, because the cat needed food, litter, and she had some medical expenses that we had to take care of. The dog right now is still fairly puppy, so she doesn't have many medical expenses. We are considering neutering her and probably getting her chipped so that we can start to find someone to dog sit her, because we would like to plan some trips in the future, and she does not do well by herself, and we do not want to we can't always be taking her with us. So we're planning on probably neutering her and getting her a chip, which that's going to be an expense, which I would like to save for to get done soon. Her food is the same price every time. It's about $60 for a big old, I think it's a 30-pound, no, that doesn't seem like very much, 50 pounds. I think it's a 50-pound bag, if I remember correctly. I don't remember. I'd have to look. It's a big old bag of dog food that we get from Costco for $60. So that stays the same. So that's nice because we can plan for that. And then just dog treats and toys, which is kind of a new concept to me, as this is going to be my first like dog that I've owned now. She's, I think, 3, or at least she will be 3 soon, or 4 even. She's within that 3-4 range. She I think just turned 3 more recently. Either way, yeah, our expenses at this point have kind of they've kind of leveled out to where it's a lot easier to plan for them. It's a lot easier to know kind of what to expect. So we started a budget. It's been helping a lot, and since our bills and our expenses now have become a bit more clear and not so sporadic, it's become a lot easier to be able to budget. So with all of that said, this leaves us right here. This is our total, which, as you can see, our starting total was less than our current total. So we've gone further into debt, but as you can see, that debt just moved. We're no longer paying for either of the beds. We're no longer paying this loan, but all of that debt just moved over onto this credit card. And it just, this credit card for us just represents the level of stress that we were feeling, and just how unprepared we were for our new life journey that we've embarked on. And currently we are still incurring a little bit here, because now we're working on trying to increase our income, because these 3 debts here their minimum payments are taking up about 1/4 of our income, which is making it really difficult to be able to live on such a tight budget for us. We're doing our best on that, but unfortunately, we still are accumulating a tad bit here. We do have one more. Well, we had several medical issues that we were dealing with this past 5 or 4 months, plus a few months into the last year, the end of last year, that we were accumulating. So that is a big portion of this. That makes up probably about 2,000 to 3,000 on here. So, but currently we do have some residual bills from those medical expenses that are trickling in slowly. So this will likely increase before we can truly decrease it. Yeah. So we're sitting right here currently, and this is going to be our kind of our starting point. It will increase somewhat here. I know that for sure. It will increase here because of some residual medical expenses that we just will not be able to pay. We don't have much savings, just a tad. So depending on what those medical expenses is, we might end up putting our small emergency fund towards them. But at the end of the day, we would have to resave that. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. We're gonna go along on a journey here together. And it'll be good. It'll turn out okay. Eventually it'll be good. But right now it's time to start working at digging out of this hole. We've been trying to dig out of this hole for a very long time, and all we've managed to do is dig ourselves a little bit deeper, which that's okay. It's been a really difficult season on all kinds of fronts, but it's time to start tapping into, or it's time to start working on this. And what I had kind of, for us, we feel like we're finally now in a season where we can start to renew our minds. And that process is going to take time, of course, but the food situation is going to be a big one that we're tackling, is getting our food under control, which mainly means buying groceries that are within our budget and eating at home. Trying to cut eating out quite so much. What I was saying about the eating out, which was really funny to me, is that we were eating out because we were feeling very stressed, and it was supposed to be more convenient, but on multiple levels it was almost more inconvenient, because we would buy food from different fast food restaurants and we wouldn't like it. It was extremely disappointing, and then we felt disappointed and frustrated on multiple levels. We felt frustrated that the food wasn't even that good. We were disappointed that it was just not what we wanted. So it was just disappointing first and foremost, because the food, we didn't even enjoy the food. On a secondary level, we were frustrated because that food, being just cheap, not good food, was causing our health to decline. It was causing us to just gain weight and feel horrible about ourselves, which is not ideal. Our bodies are important for us to take care of. And then on a different level, we were frustrated because now we've just incurred more debt. We've incurred more credit that we were using on this fast food. And it was really just wildly out of control in different seasons throughout this last little bit here. And we just feel like right now we're finally in a season where we can start to renew our minds and start to break some habits and start to just have peace and joy moving forward, to start finding gratitude and thankfulness in the things we do have, in the food we do share, we enjoy, and we have so much more fulfillment out of our homemade food. And it seems inconvenient when you think about it, but at the end of the day, it just brings us so much more joy and peace. It brings health to our bodies. So yes, we are going to be tackling the food problem a lot more, and we'll go into that some more also. But additionally, in the process of renewing our minds and in the process of these different areas, the big one is going to be the finances, of course, which you are seeing here. We're going to be working on this, and we're just going to have to see where we kind of end up after these next couple medical expenses, because ideally I would like to start putting away kind of an emergency fund, like a good full emergency fund. But obviously, paying off these debts is kind of holding us back from truly being able to save. So we're going to be working on paying these down, increasing our income, and in that process also saving. So looking forward to it. So excited to start this journey. So excited to be able to share it. And hopefully I will see you very soon. Yeah, I don't know how soon I'll see you on the financial side, but I will see you on the food side, I'll see you on the health side, and I'll see you in the garden and everywhere else that everywhere else that I end up partaking in. So that's the end of this kind of overview of where we're standing financially. This is going to be kind of the introduction. And then we'll get into it some more as we start working it down, as we work on it. It's going to be a bit of a journey, but I'm really excited that I'm going to be able to share it with all of you. And, I look forward to it. I'm so glad that you're here, and so glad to be able to share and talk with you, because it's going to be necessary for this process to have a level of accountability, but more than anything, just support in all these ventures that I'm embarking in. I think that's the basis. So I'm excited to invite you into our journey as we work on this, and I hope to see you soon.